In a world where technology rules, a young girl discovers a shocking truth about her lost brother, one that could change humanity forever. The story begins in 1990, introducing two siblings, Michelle and Chris. Chris is exceptionally intelligent, and at a young age, he takes an advanced test that could get him straight into college. As Michelle and Chris exit the exam hall, they are stopped by army officers. The reason? Chris is wearing a shirt with a Cosmo robot on it, a sign that he likes robots. But in this world, a war is brewing between humans and robots, making this a dangerous symbol to display. We are then introduced to a scientist named Ethan, who despises robots. Years ago, robots were created to assist humans, but over time, humans began discarding them when they malfunctioned. Tired of this mistreatment, robots formed their own alliance, led by a powerful robot named Peanut. Humans viewed this as a threat, and tensions escalated into a full-scale war between humans and robots. During the war, a military officer named Evans reports to his superiors that humans are losing the battle. Robots don't get tired, making them superior in combat. Just when things seem hopeless, Ethan unveils a new technology called neurotech. This technology allows humans to control special Neurocaster robots, using their brains through neurohelmets. These robots, unlike ordinary humans, do not tire, and within weeks, humans gain the upper hand, ultimately winning the war. Major Mark, a ruthless soldier, is celebrated for destroying the most robots. Instead of completely wiping out robots after the war, humans make a deal to imprison them in a facility rather than destroying them. As time passes, Ethan continues refining neurotech, enhancing it so that a single human brain can control two Neurocaster robots at the same time. This means people can perform multiple tasks simultaneously. The technology becomes a global sensation, integrated into daily life, even in schools where children are taught how to use it. The story jumps forward to 1994, where Michelle is now living with her foster father. Unlike her classmates, Michelle refuses to use neurohelmets because she prefers staying in her natural human form. This lands her in trouble at school, and the principal warns her to follow the rules or risk having her mother contacted. Michelle reveals that her entire family died in an accident, which saddens the principal, who then suggests she try neurotherapy to help cope. However, Michelle dislikes artificial technology and refuses. A flashback reveals Michelle's traumatic accident. A deer suddenly appeared on the road, causing her car to crash. She was critically injured and later woke up in a hospital where she saw a doctor wearing glasses. Suddenly, Michelle snaps out of the memory and senses someone sneaking into her house. Terrified, she hides under the bed. A Cosmo robot enters her room, lifts the bed, and finds her. When Michelle threatens to destroy it, the robot points to her head, requesting a connection. She hesitantly complies, and to her shock, the robot claims to be her brother, Chris. Before she can process this revelation, Michelle's foster father appears and attacks the robot. He reminds Michelle that keeping robots is illegal and demands she get rid of it. She blames him for the robot getting in, and in response, he angrily attacks her. The robot, furious, retaliates and throws him against a wall. Before he can report Michelle to the police, she knocks him unconscious and escapes with the robot. Once far from the house, Michelle demands to know how the robot could be her brother. The robot confirms it carries Chris's consciousness. Overwhelmed with emotion, Michelle asks where Chris's real body is. The robot gestures, indicating that the doctor with glasses knows the answer. Michelle recalls the doctor who told her that Chris was dead. Checking a map, she lets the robot pinpoint a location, the heart of the robot facility. That's where they must go. On their journey, they witness the terrible state of humanity. People have become addicted to neurohelmets, using them like a drug, completely detached from reality. Seeing this, the Cosmo robot feels deeply saddened. Meanwhile, Evans, the former military officer, is now running an illegal arms trade. A Neurocaster robot tries to buy a gun from him, but instead of paying, it threatens him. Before it can attack, Evans's secretly owned robot disables it. Evans and his robot then load the Neurocaster's body into a truck. Seeing an opportunity, Michelle and her Cosmo robot sneak into the truck, knowing it will take them inside the facility. Back at Michelle's foster home, he regains consciousness and reports her to the authorities. The government hires Mark, the expert robot killer, to hunt down Michelle and her Cosmo robot. Evans's truck stops at his home, which is secretly connected to the robot facility. As Evans enters his house, Michelle and the Cosmo robot sneak out and overhear his conversation. Before they can escape, Evans catches them at gunpoint. Michelle quickly explains that she only wants to enter the facility. Evans warns that it's extremely dangerous and advises her to leave. However, before they can continue talking, Evans senses someone outside. It's Mark's Neurocaster robot. Mark demands to know where Michelle and the Cosmo robot are. Evans lies, claiming Michelle is his sister and that there are no robots here. Not believing him, Mark attacks. In response, both Evans' robot and the Cosmo robot fight back. Taking advantage of the chaos, Michelle shuts off the power and they all escape, leaving Mark's robot disabled. Enraged, Mark removes his neuro helmet and vows revenge. Their escape route leads them to a dangerous junkyard filled with scavenger robots that harvest working parts from damaged robots. Evans' robot, Tim, finds an old, massive robot and a van. They plan to use these to escape. When Michelle asks Evans where he found Tim, he reveals that during the war he was badly injured, and this robot saved his life. Since then, he has kept it hidden, knowing that robots are now illegal. Meanwhile, scientist Ethan is with his elderly mother, who is losing her memory. He soon discovers that neurotech is causing this deterioration. Enraged, he storms into his lab and demands answers from his team. They reveal that Chris was the key to their neurotech system, and his escape has disrupted everything. Furious, Ethan orders them to find Chris before the entire company collapses. Ethan then contacts Mark, offering him anything he desires in exchange for capturing Chris. Mark, already hunting Michelle and the Cosmo robot, accepts the deal. Ethan provides him with an upgraded Neurocaster suit to replace his damaged one. Back with Michelle and her group, they reach a strange area, but are suddenly attacked. A fridge is thrown at them, injuring Evans's giant robot. Soon, they are surrounded by robots who take them to their leader, Dr. Peanut. Michelle is shocked to see that Peanut is still alive. Peanut questions their intentions, as humans usually come here to destroy robots. Michelle assures him she means no harm and is only looking for a doctor inside the facility. Peanut confirms there is a doctor living in a safe house nearby. When Michelle explains that she's searching for her brother, Peanut grows concerned about why Ethan would keep a child's body in his facility. Michelle has no answer. To assist them, Peanut assigns military robots to escort them. They leave in a peanut-shaped vehicle, but Mark secretly follows. Upon reaching their destination, they are attacked again. Just before they are harmed, a song plays, activating a secret passage that leads them to Dr. Keon, the very man Michelle was searching for. Before Keon can speak, Michelle bombards him with questions. "Where is my brother? You said he was dead. Why did you lie?" Keon finally reveals the truth. 4 years ago, during the war, humans were losing. Amidst all the chaos, Michelle and Chris had their tragic accident. When Chris underwent an MRI, doctors discovered something incredible. His brain had extraordinary abilities, almost like a divine gift. These powers became the foundation of neurotech, a groundbreaking technology. However, when Michelle learned the truth, she was furious. She had been told Chris was dead, yet here he was, being used for science. To explain, Dr. Keon showed her the entire story through his robotic memory. Chris had been in a coma, but his brain was kept active, allowing neurotech to function. Dr. Keon justified this by saying that if they hadn't kept Chris artificially alive, the project wouldn't have existed, and Chris would have been killed. But Michelle was horrified. She felt they had used Chris in an inhumane way and should have just let him go. Keon defended himself, saying Chris was never fully gone. One day, Chris even tried to move his hand, proving he was alive inside. That's when Keon attempted to shut down neurotech, but Ethan, the mastermind behind the project, refused and fired him instead. Keon then revealed that he had connected Chris's brain to a robot, which was why Michelle was standing before him today. But even after hearing this, Michelle wasn't moved. She demanded to know why they had done this. Keon's answer was shocking. He had wanted Chris to transfer his consciousness into a robot, so he could live among machines and even start a family. This broke Michelle's heart. She burst into tears, yelling that Chris was her brother, and his family was with her, not robots. Meanwhile, Evans was also enraged by this revelation and started attacking Keon. At the same time, Mark arrived at the facility, which sent Peanut into a panic. Mark wasn't alone. He had an army with him and wasted no time launching an attack. Explosions rocked the facility, and in the darkness, Michelle and the others attempted to fight back. But Mark's Neurocaster robots were incredibly strong, barely affected by their attacks. His robotic army quickly started wiping out the older robots. Seeing the dire situation, Keon urged Michelle to take the robot and escape. But before she could run, Mark spotted her. Without harming her, he grabbed the robot and flew away. The destruction left behind was devastating. Even Peanut was severely injured. When Michelle and the others returned to the robot facility, they found most of the robots dead, with the few survivors barely functioning. Meanwhile, Mark had taken the robot to Ethan. Upon seeing it, Ethan smirked and addressed the robot directly, saying, "Chris, you've given me a lot of trouble. Don't do this again." He then instructed his scientists to extract all of the robot's consciousness and transfer it back into Chris's body. Mark stood there, shocked by how Ethan was using a child for his own gain. But Ethan felt no remorse. He justified everything by saying that neurotech had saved humanity. Back at the robot facility, Michelle was devastated. But Evans reassured her that they would expose Ethan and save Chris. Their first goal was to escape the facility. A robot from Peanut's group had access to crucial information and revealed a shocking truth. All of neurotech operated through Chris's brain. If Chris regained full consciousness, the entire system would shut down. This gave Michelle an idea. If they could wake Chris up, they could end neurotech once and for all. The robot volunteered to join their mission, but Peanut was hesitant. He reminded everyone that they had never wanted war, only peace and respect. But Michelle countered that they needed to fight one last time to truly achieve that. Eventually, the other robots convinced Peanut to join the cause, and together they prepared for battle. They traveled in a massive, round-shaped vehicle to the city where Ethan's lab was located. With them, they brought an enormous robot capable of lifting cars like toys. As soon as they arrived, they launched their attack, shaking the ground beneath the lab. Inside, Ethan saw the chaos unfolding and immediately ordered Mark to eliminate them. Evans controlled the giant robot, facing off against advanced Neurocaster robots. Though he put up a good fight, the enemies eventually destroyed his machine. Barely escaping the explosion, Evans jumped out just in time. Meanwhile, Peanut arrived in another giant robot, leading an army of cosmic robots into battle against the Neurocaster units. As the outside battle raged on, Michelle used the distraction to infiltrate Ethan's lab. She scared the scientists away with her robot and found a neuro helmet that connected directly to Chris's brain. Meanwhile, outside, Mark entered the battlefield, wearing an upgraded Neurocaster suit, unleashing destruction everywhere. He even confronted Peanut directly, holding him at gunpoint. Mark questioned Peanut's reason for fighting, asking if he wasn't afraid of death. But Peanut, without hesitation, said that if his death meant freedom for his companions, then it was a worthy sacrifice. Mark was stunned. He had never met a human with such selflessness. In that moment, he realized Ethan was the true villain. Ethan had used a child mercilessly for his own success. With a newfound sense of justice, Mark made a critical decision. He would no longer support Ethan. Inside the lab, Michelle used the neuro helmet to enter Chris's subconscious. There, she found him in a dreamlike version of their home. She pleaded with him to wake up so they could escape, but Chris refused. He had seen the world from within and knew Ethan had exploited him to ruin it. He explained that his brain was the core of neurotech, and as long as he remained alive, Ethan would continue using him for destruction. Michelle was horrified. Chris then asked her to make the hardest decision of all. He wanted her to end his life so that neurotech would collapse. Michelle refused at first, but Chris reminded her of something she had always told him, that he had the power to change the world. With tears in her eyes, she finally agreed. They embraced one last time before the dreamscape faded. Back in reality, Michelle woke up with a heavy heart. Determined, she went forward and shut down all of Chris's life support machines. As a result, Chris was gone, and neurotech was completely destroyed. Meanwhile, outside, Evans and the robots were struggling. His trusted robot companion Tim was heavily damaged, and he was devastated. Just as all hope seemed lost, the moment Chris's brain shut down, all Neurocaster robots collapsed instantly. The war was over. Evans had won. He let out a victorious scream, but soon turned his attention back to Tim, who appeared lifeless. His joy turned to sorrow until he noticed a smaller version of Tim inside the wreckage, still carrying its core. Evans sighed in relief, holding on to his damaged friend. With the battle over, Evans and Michelle emerged from the facility to witness a new world, one without neurotech. News of Ethan's crimes spread quickly, and he was arrested. Michelle publicly exposed the truth about how Ethan had exploited a child to power his technology. The world was shocked, and justice was served. In a powerful speech, Michelle addressed humanity. She explained that people had become overly dependent on neurotech, forgetting their own strengths. It was time for them to rely on one another again. She reminded them that human emotions and connections were what truly mattered. Her speech resonated with everyone, even bringing Evans to tears. He hugged Michelle, marking the beginning of a new era. But just when it seemed like the story was over, the post-credits scene hinted at something more. Amidst a graveyard of deactivated robots, a Cosmo robot suddenly stirred. A message appeared, revealing that Chris's consciousness was still alive within it. And with that final twist, the movie came to an end, leaving everyone with one big question: was Chris really gone?